Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to What's the Deal, your go-to channel for breaking down the latest trending topics and news. Today, we're diving into a hot topic that's stirring up plenty of conversation in the comedy and entertainment world. Tony Hinchcliffe. Known for his edgy humor and work on the Kill Tony podcast, Hinchcliffe has built a following based on his roast-style comedy and blunt, no-filter persona. But in recent weeks, he's been making headlines for all the wrong reasons. From racially charged jokes at a Trump rally to sparking controversy on ESPN's College GameDay, Hinchcliffe's latest moves have landed him in hot water and reignited debates about the boundaries of dark humor. Some fans are defending him for pushing limits, while others argue he's crossed the line and needs to be held accountable. In today's video, we'll dive into what's been going on, explore the mixed reactions from fans and critics, and consider what this could mean for Hinchcliffe's career. If you're interested in the dynamics of comedy, free speech, and accountability, hit that subscribe button because we're just getting started. Tony Hinchcliffe rose to fame through his edgy, roast-style humor and work on the Kill Tony podcast, where he's known for pushing comedic boundaries. His distinct, no-holds-barred approach has earned him both loyal fans and plenty of critics, especially as he embraces a style that courts controversy. With a background in writing for major shows like Comedy Central's roast of Justin Bieber, Hinchcliffe quickly gained traction as a comedian unafraid to challenge norms in comedy. However, Hinchcliffe's boundary-pushing style has recently come under heavy scrutiny. During a rally in support of Donald Trump in New York, Hinchcliffe's set included racially charged jokes that many found offensive, leading to widespread backlash. His choice to make racially sensitive jokes, especially at a public rally, sparked an immediate reaction on social media and led to calls for accountability, with some attendees and online viewers expressing shock and frustration over the tone of his set. This incident quickly went viral, sparking debates about whether his brand of humor should have limits when it enters a politically and culturally charged setting. In addition to his controversial rally appearance, Hinchcliffe faced criticism on ESPN's College GameDay, where he was a guest commentator. His humor, often known for its dark and direct style, didn't resonate with every viewer, and some took offense at his comments, leading to polarized reactions online. Many fans of the show and ESPN viewers felt that his tone was inappropriate for the sports broadcast, which caters to a more mainstream audience than his usual comedy club following. Hinchcliffe's recent controversies tap into a larger conversation about the role of comedy in social discourse. While some argue that comedy is meant to push boundaries and address taboo topics, others contend that it should be mindful of its impact, especially in sensitive political or social contexts. These incidents are now the latest in a series of controversies that challenge how audiences perceive comedians who embrace a more confrontational approach. For Hinchcliffe, known for his unfiltered style, the reaction to these events may be a sign of changing public tolerance for certain types of humor, especially as audiences become more vocal in their pushback against offensive content. Tony Hinchcliffe's humor has long polarized audiences, positioning him as a controversial figure in modern comedy. His style, which leans heavily into roast comedy, is built on pushing the boundaries of what people consider socially or politically acceptable. Hinchcliffe, much like his friend and fellow comedian Joe Rogan, doesn't shy away from challenging his audiences with material that others might avoid, typically drawing those who enjoy risky, edgy humor while alienating viewers looking for a lighter touch. In today's comedy landscape, many comedians have drawn criticism for material that leans into racial, political, or social issues in ways some find offensive. For Hinchcliffe, the line between edgy humor and offensive language has often blurred, especially in recent appearances. At the Trump rally in New York, for instance, Hinchcliffe's racially charged jokes weren't delivered in a small comedy club where audiences might expect edgy, roast-style humor. Instead, they were delivered at a high-profile political rally where many attendees found them inflammatory. The public response was swift, with some rallygoers and viewers posting clips on social media that went viral, showing him mocking attendees and making culturally insensitive remarks. These comments seemed to echo past controversies that had already raised questions about his comedic boundaries. The clash of expectations in these recent events, fans expecting classic Hinchcliffe roasts versus viewers hoping for respect and discretion, has become a central focus of this controversy. For supporters, Hinchcliffe's willingness to take risks is what keeps his comedy relevant, allowing him to tackle complex social issues without reservation. His defenders argue that part of comedy's role is to expose uncomfortable truths, sometimes in ways that can shock or even offend. By this logic, Hinchcliffe's material is just an extension of his art, an exercise in free speech that allows comedians to explore subjects that other public figures might avoid. However, his critics argue that his latest appearances crossed a line, especially considering the environments in which they took place. Public forums like the Trump rally and ESPN's College GameDay come with certain expectations of decorum, which some felt Hinchcliffe disregarded. While he may have delivered similar jokes in a comedy club, critics argue that taking this material to mainstream platforms disregards the broader impact such jokes can have in divisive social and political climates. They contend that it isn't just about whether the jokes are funny or offensive, but about the consequences of normalizing language that targets specific groups, particularly in spaces where such commentary might not be expected. The reaction on social media has been equally divided. Supporters of Hinchcliffe see the backlash as part of a cancel culture mentality that doesn't respect comedic freedom. They argue that comedy should be a space for risk-taking, without comedians having to filter their material for fear of public backlash. This camp believes that audiences should come prepared for boundary-pushing humor and understand that certain comedians, like Hinchcliffe, aren't interested in playing it safe. Conversely, critics point out that these incidents weren't just a matter of dark humor, but crossed into what they see as irresponsible behavior. They argue that Hinchcliffe's recent remarks, particularly the racial humor at the rally, harm communities who already face discrimination. For them, it's less about free speech and more about accountability, ensuring that public figures with a large platform don't perpetuate harmful stereotypes. In response to Hinchcliffe's jokes, many have voiced that while freedom of speech is vital, so is the responsibility that comes with a large platform and a broad audience reach. The role of comedy in society is complex and constantly evolving. In previous eras, comedians like Richard Pryor and George Carlin were known for pushing boundaries, using humor as a vehicle to address social injustices and cultural taboos. However, many argue that the context has shifted significantly today, with social media amplifying reactions and making comedians' words more accessible to broader, often less context-aware audiences. This shift raises the stakes for comedians like Hinchcliffe, who must balance maintaining their authentic voices with acknowledging that their content may reach people outside their usual audience. Adding fuel to the fire, Hinchcliffe's appearance on College GameDay stirred even more backlash. His blunt style of humor did not resonate with ESPN's more mainstream audience, leading some to question the decision to bring him on. The controversy reignited debates over how comedians should adapt their material to fit different audiences or contexts. Critics felt that Hinchcliffe's brand of humor, better suited for the comedy club circuit, was misplaced on a national sports broadcast. As these controversies unfold, Hinchcliffe's future as a comedian remains uncertain. Some in the comedy world argue that his ability to recover will depend on how he addresses these incidents. Public apologies, reflections, or clarifications about his intentions could help him rebuild relationships with audiences who may now be hesitant to support his work. On the other hand, doubling down on his existing style without acknowledging public concerns could lead to further backlash, potentially limiting his appeal and opportunities on mainstream platforms. These recent events bring to light the wider cultural shifts happening in comedy. Society is becoming increasingly aware of the impact of words and humor on diverse communities. And while comedy has always been about pushing boundaries, the public is starting to reassess where those boundaries should lie. For comedians like Hinchcliffe, who thrive on pushing the envelope, this means navigating new dynamics that balance artistic freedom with social responsibility. In the end, Hinchcliffe's controversies illustrate the challenge comedians face in today's social landscape. As audiences become more vocal about the impact of comedy on public perception, comedians who once operated with few limits now find themselves in the position of having to carefully weigh the risks of their material. For Hinchcliffe, whose career is built on edgy humor, the stakes of this moment are high. The outcome could reshape not only his own future in comedy, but also the broader conversation on how comedians adapt or resist changing social expectations in the digital age. Recent reactions to Tony Hinchcliffe's appearances provide insight into how audiences react differently to his provocative style depending on the setting. His performance at a New York Trump rally showcased this clash in a highly publicized way. Hinchcliffe's racially charged humor met with an audience of both dedicated supporters and those unprepared for his blunt delivery. And videos from the rally quickly circulated on social media, spurring a wave of criticism. While some fans praised him for not shying away from controversial humor, others felt that the jokes reinforced harmful stereotypes and were inappropriate given the rally's diverse crowd. This wasn't the only incident drawing scrutiny. Hinchcliffe's College GameDay appearance showed how edgy humor can fail to connect with a more mainstream audience. His direct, roast-like comments seemed to clash with the light-hearted, sports-focused tone of the show, prompting viewers to question his suitability for the event. Public responses ranged from confusion to frustration, as many ESPN fans voiced their displeasure online, leading to increased polarization around his brand of comedy. These examples underline a critical takeaway for comedians like Hinchcliffe. While some settings, like comedy clubs or specialized podcasts, may welcome extreme humor, broader public platforms have audiences that may not appreciate or expect his particular style. As controversies around these appearances spread, they continue to highlight the fine line comedians face in balancing free speech with awareness of their diverse audience's expectations. For Hinchcliffe, these incidents serve as a reminder that in today's media landscape, comedians must adapt to the setting or risk backlash that could redefine their public image and career trajectory. As we've seen, Tony Hinchcliffe's recent controversies are sparking strong opinions on both sides. For fans, his no-holds-barred comedy style represents the freedom of expression that makes comedy impactful and bold. But for critics, his recent appearances highlight the potential harms of comedy that leans into offensive language without regard for broader audiences. As public reaction grows more vocal, it's clear that comedians like Hinchcliffe face an evolving landscape where accountability and awareness are more important than ever. Whether Hinchcliffe chooses to adapt his style or continue pushing boundaries unchanged, his choices will likely impact his career trajectory and influence discussions on comedy's role in society. For those invested in comedy's potential to challenge norms, and inspire reflection, this ongoing debate signals a shift in how humor intersects with cultural sensitivity. So, what do you think? Is Hinchcliffe simply misunderstood, or is it time for a change in his approach? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to What's the Deal for more deep dives on the latest trends and topics. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.